I wanted to talk about this new format that I've been working on, well, in my head for a while. I believe I've shared this with some of you on Discord already, that I think what would be beneficial is something like a sub 5-minute video format that gets straight to the point and nothing fancy about it, no webcam, just literally almost like an out of context, one particular thing that gets explained in a very short and efficient manner. So it's kind of a mix between an animated GIF file and a slightly longer video, but not something that takes up, say, 15-20 minutes. I mean, I'm super guilty of basically not that I'm trying to do this deliberately, but sometimes I tend to elaborate on things and explain things in more detail than they need to be explained. Sometimes it's really, well, how do you move the camera with your keyboard and your mouse? Well, you hold this down and you move that. Boom, that's it. And I'm gonna try and turn that into a new type of format, and as short and as efficient as possible. So it could be a minute, could be 2 minutes, but shouldn't be longer than 4 to 5 minutes. So that's kind of the maximum, which is difficult to do in the subject matter that we keep explaining, because sometimes it is just, well, there's just a lot to say about it. And that is something that I've been working on in my mind for quite a while. And this morning, or actually since yesterday, Julia and I've been working on kind of turning some elements into a new title sequence. And I wanted to talk about that process a little bit. So that's the new format, is that should happen alongside the other format, the format that I usually do, which is, let's have a sit down and have a chat about how to do this. And that'll be like anywhere between 15 minutes and an hour. So the almost like the expanded version of that is the live stream format, but then there's also the format in which I try to be more concise, but usually do not succeed that well, or it's a subject matter that just requires a longer time to explain things. So to commemorate this kind of shorter format, I was playing around with titles in my head. So quick tips is an idea. Then I thought it's almost like a camera version of that would be a snapshot. And then I was thinking perhaps it could be a quick snap or a tech snapshot, something along those lines. And in the end, we settled for, what was it again? We settled for trick shots. That's it, trick shots. And that is kind of an amalgamation of, hey, this is a quick trick I'm showing you, and it's also short and snappy. That's the idea. So trick shots was kind of something Julia and I both agreed on would be a cool idea. So that's what we settled on. And to do that, we thought perhaps we can explain this in a way that contains somehow a Polaroid camera, because we all know the Polaroid cameras, that they give you pictures that are almost images of reality, but they're not particularly good, and so they're kind of more like a sketch of what you want to portray, but they come out very quick and they have got these rough and dirty edges, and that's what kind of speaks to me about Polaroid. And it also speaks to me about this new format, because that's kind of is something, all these characteristics will be in there. So Julia found an animated Polaroid camera, which was great for the task. And I thought, great, we can start that in the new title sequence. That could be part of the new title sequence. And somehow I managed to put my logo in there so that the logo comes out of the camera, and that was supposed to be the beginning of it. And then we'd launch into the video. And I thought, well, we also need some kind of wording around there. So I found something on Camtasia that's like a title sequence or like an intro sequence made of text elements. And I thought, great, maybe we can have the Polaroid camera followed by that and somehow mix these two things together. And it was working in a way, but it was also a bit too long just for a quick and snappy intro, and quickness and snappiness is kind of what this whole thing is all about. So I thought, nah, something's not quite right about this. And Julia and I were looking at it, put the Polaroid sound effect underneath it, and then Julia said, you know what, it's almost like the intro with the red background and the guru logo in the front. That needs to be at the beginning of the video, and perhaps the Polaroid camera can be at the end. And we thought, maybe we'll try that. So we split the whole logo out. And then I thought, hey, that's actually really cool, because that now mixes really well with the supporter credits, which I also wanted to put in these videos. Even though they make them a bit longer, I roll the credits a little bit faster, but it's, you know, something I would like to show. I'd like to show off my supporters. That's, you know, it's important for me, it's important for my supporters. Not for all of them. I've received some requests of people who give donations who say, I really don't need to be in the credits, that's totally fine, I don't want that honor. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's also cool. So sometimes I honor that. I always honor that, but just sometimes I get that request. So we've made that work, we made that happen, and out comes the thing that I'll introduce more and more now. It allows me to explain one topic as a result of questions that I receive. Hey, how do you do this? And sometimes that's just a really quick and rough thing that I can explain out of context. It's a little bit inspired by what Christina and I were doing on Discord about bouncing short, rough videos back and forth. And sometimes it's almost like you can make a whole channel out of that and not give any further explanations to that. But I was thinking to make it appeal to a wider audience, just give a little bit of context but keep it still short and snappy, and so that's a new format. So you'll see that introduced over the next few weeks and months. I've done the first one today, and not every topic can be explained that way, but I found one today that was a question for Karen about how to turn an anti-block into keyframes, change them, and then turn that back into an anti-block. That just about fits into 5 minutes there. And yeah, I'm thinking I want to experiment with this format. And so the other thing then, once this was all polished, which took many hours to do, and literally I used to do editing for a living when I was working in television. Part of it was editing, and there was always this creative vision that you have, and sometimes it's about shifting an audio effect 2 to 3 frames and making a fade in and a fade out just a little bit longer and putting a little bit of a gap in here, and that takes a long time to perfect that so that it flows. And yes, so I think we managed to do that over the last couple of days in my week off, which was supposed to be kind of a week off from my day job, but then it turned out to be, well, that was supposed to be, that the idea was week off from my day job and still do 3D stuff. Tend to really stick my head in there, and yes, I noticed that I do need a few hours and days in the chair watching old Perry Mason episodes, so that's what I did. But on the back of that, this new title sequence came out, and you know, it worked quite well, and I thought, you know, I'll share those thoughts behind the camera with you. I totally forgot to talk about that launch music. That's another aspect that I had smuggled in there, and it's something that in the professional television music industry we call that a bubble. Something bubbles underneath something, so I'm talking over it and there's some kind of very small amount of music bubbling in the background. That's why that's called a bubble. And I've seen many YouTube videos that employ that, usually with incredibly horrible music on it, like and that I find that not good and a bit distracting, especially when that's too loud. So, but I thought there is merit to doing it because it just makes this whole package a little bit more polished and entertaining, and I thought I want to try that out as well. So I was very inspired by the music that Rod put on a couple of his videos, which was Book Bag, and that's available from the YouTube audio library. I think it's Otis McDonald, something like that, and it's available for free on the YouTube audio library. And I thought it has a little bit of a flair of that locker music that I put on the Subnautica stream. So I thought I'm going to try that out and loop that in the background, very tiny. And there's always the temptation to make that too loud, and so that would ruin everything. So I made that extremely quiet, but yes, that's another thing. So I'm messing around with formats, I'm trying out new things, trying to keep things fresh. And of course, for me as a like maker of these things, it allows me to make quicker videos more often without much technical dip-dops forgot the word now. But yes, that's the idea. Let me know what you think about it. The new format has this new title sequence, and it's got this new ending sequence. Let me know what you think. Other than that, thank you so much for watching.